Hey y'all, how's it going? We are doing our first live show where we are doing live coverage of something that just happened. For everyone that's just watching, hello, my name is Davon Williams, and this is The Receipts with Davon Williams. And this is the AEA Town Hall unofficial post-show discussion. Long title. Look, you got to work with what you got. You got to work with it. What we're going to be doing today is we're going to be getting live reactions from the people who were, I would say, some of the people who made this thing happen, some of the people who were very influential, and we're going to get the reactions to see how did AEA do on what was a lively town hall. Some of the things that took place. Matter of fact, I'm going to break this news right now. Can we break news? An hour into the town hall, President Kate Shindle apologized. Now, this is huge for anyone that's been watching 2021 and the idea of just accountability. What does accountability mean? Okay, we actually have more news coming in. Call it. Last week, we had members of the Barter Theater, Hannah and Kim, or as I like to call them, our Abbott and Costello. They told the story and they broke down and introduced a timeline in which they had been trying to get their theater shows approved. And we are happy to break news that as of today, the day of the town hall, the Barter Theater safety plan has been approved and they will be able to do productions. So any actor watching right now, you might as well submit your headshots. Keep it going. All right, so during the town hall, I noticed in the comment section that someone was bringing up the vice president. There was a vice president position, Ife for vice president. Did not make any sense. So I reached out to staff, I reached out to council, and I am able to break the news that Vice President Melissa Robinette has resigned from her position at the Actors Equity Association. As of now, I repeat, Melissa Robinette, former vice president of the Actors Equity Association, has resigned. I also asked people if there are any front runners, and right now you can break it. We would like to thank Melissa Robinette for her service. Being a VP or being in any type of leadership position is hard. Right now, the current front runners for the position are Counselor Wydetta Carter and Ife Butler. They are the odds-on favorite to be the new vice president of the Actors Equity Association. So I'm going to take a break from breaking the news, and we're actually going to get into our first story. Please welcome our first guest, the SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President, also the SAG-AFTRA President of the New York chapter, Rebecca Damon. Let's get that video. Oh, live news. Live? We don't got the video? PSMs? We can rally. All right, great. While we try to get that video, let's just pull Rebecca on and let me know when you have it. All right, so normally there's a video there, but this is live. We're trying to do the CNN thing. It's great. So, Rebecca, how are you?
Hi there. I'm good. I did not attend the Equity Town Hall, even though I'm an Equity member, but I'm glad to hear you guys had one.
It's good. It's good. Today, before we get into the live discussions, we're going to let everyone get time to digest, get into it. There's something actually that I want to talk to you about. We have a convention coming up for the Actors Equity Association, our first ever convention, and we have a couple of bills coming forward. One is one that was written by over 500 members known as the Black Theater Matters Bill. And in it, there's something that's become very controversial. The idea of even talking about mergers. It's become kind of like, ooh, touch and go. We don't want to talk about it. So I was like, wait a minute. Why not talk to someone who not only went through this, but had their hands deep in the pot? And today, the first question I would like to ask you, Vice President Damon, is how did the SAG-AFTRA merger happen?
So the SAG-AFTRA merger was decades in the making. Almost, if you think about the history of forming the unions in the theater and media space, I always kind of look back at it and I think that, the SAG-AFTRA merger really started the minute there was a SAG and AFTRA, and it then took a very long time and a lot of years of people not wanting to do it before it actually happened. SAG and AFTRA took several attempts at merging before we finally successfully did it in 2012. But what really had happened was we were in a period of time where, as members of SAG and AFTRA, and many of us SAG-AFTRA and Equity, SAG and AFTRA were basically in a position where members had to choose between two unions. They had to choose with two unions who covered them for very similar work. So it was a really, really tricky situation where, first off, you never want members to be in a position when they should have to choose between their unions. Like, that's essentially a bad idea. But it also arose because you could let employers essentially pick and choose between the unions, which is another situation that as a member, you never want to be in. So when I first got involved, I started off in Screen Actors Guild as a volunteer. We didn't have conventions. We didn't have things like that. It was a different structure as a union. But I started off in Screen Actors Guild as somebody that just went out and talked to young members about the union. And, very clearly, both in my own professional life, but in the lives of everybody that I was seeing, I saw that it made no sense and that we were sort of saddled with decisions that had been made in the past. We were carrying the weight of other people's poor decision making of not having merged before that. And so, it really, for me, became one of those things where, it made no sense that you could do the commercial under a SAG contract and then have the radio spot be an AFTRA commercial. It made no sense that there were divides that just had to do the format of where the media or where something was shot, all these kinds of things. Really sort of that universe where you see you're losing your power because you have structures that have been built, but that aren't able to really serve people in the way that you'd want to. So back in 2008, there was I think New York had always been a very pro-merger group. So many people in New York always wanted to merge SAG and AFTRA. But that varied. I think it was also very pro-merger around the country. But in Los Angeles, it wasn't really as pro-merger as all of that. It was a mixed bucket. And there was groups of people that came along that really said enough is enough. And what we really need to do is unite SAG and AFTRA. And in 2009, Ken Howard, who was elected the Screen Actors Guild president, along with Roberta Reardon, who was the AFTRA president, began the conversation. First, very informally and behind the scenes, and then it grew over time into something where we actually formed first a group that just talked about what it would look like to merge. Like, that's how complicated it was back then, because there had been so much back and forth that a lot of us just sort of inherited the back and forth. We weren't the ones that had done the fighting, but we were the ones that we wanted to end the fighting. We wanted to build the power and the leverage for the members. And so when Ken Howard became president, he actually ran. People would always tease him and say, you can't just run on being pro-merger. That's crazy. Nobody should ever be a one-trick pony, a one-horse merger guy. And he said no. He said, absolutely, it is the single most important thing that these unions will have ever done and will ever do. And I, to this day, think he was absolutely right about it. So we started having discussions as first a very small group, and then that expanded over time to a bigger group called the G1, or the Group for One Union. We always like our little names in unions. If there could be an alphabet soup, unions make it happen, So we started this group, and it was a group of members from Screen Actors Guild and members from AFTRA, the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, and we began meeting very regularly to decide what a SAG-AFTRA merger would look like. And then ultimately, it was the membership that got to decide. And there had been times where one of the unions had been essentially left at the altar because it was a super majority vote that was required, where you'd have a majority of people that wanted to do it, but you didn't make that threshold. But actually, when we really did finally get the chance to merge in 2012, we didn't just get the super majority in both unions. We just blew it out of the house, because you knew that was what members wanted, and it solved so many things for us as members, and it really did deliver the thing that I think was the most important, which was to make sure that we could really consolidate our power for our members and not be using that power on other things that didn't really serve people. So I know that mergers can be controversial, but when I think about mergers, I actually think that it really is one of the most powerful things that those two unions and SAG-AFTRA is born. And we're right at the 9th anniversary of the merger. So a lot of mergers don't work out. And part of how you build that merger process leads to whether it will work out. And we made it so that it almost had to work out, which is, I think, was very smart.
That's awesome. Now that you've given us that history, I want to get a little bit into the details. But before we do that, let's just remind everybody who Rebecca Damon is. Can I get the intro?
Oh, no.
The Receipts with Davon Williams is ecstatic to introduce Rebecca Damon. A New York-based actor and voiceover performer, Rebecca Damon is a visionary labor leader who was a key architect of the merger between Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. A champion for workers' rights, including strengthening New York's right of publicity and digital image rights for the benefit of all members, she has a proven track record of collaborating and strategic problem solving with disparate groups to implement innovative solutions. Rebecca was first elected SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President, the union's second highest office, in 2016, and was re-elected both in 2017 and 2019. She also serves as the president of SAG-AFTRA New York. During her tenure with SAG-AFTRA governance, she has served as the national chair of the Government Review Committee, chair of the Member Organizing Volunteer Efforts New York Committee, chair of the Member Outreach Relations and Education Committee, and has been a member of the Executive Finance and Government Affairs Committee, Public Policy Committee, and the President's Task Force on Education, Outreach, and Engagement. She has been seen on screen and TV in A Rogue and Londinium, Guiding Light, One Life to Live, and As the World Turns. Join us in giving a warm welcome to Rebecca Damon.
I don't have the end hand, but I definitely have thanks to Napoleon.
There you go. I'm back. That was fun. Oh my gosh. We were all young ones. There you go.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
With the last little bit of time we have left, I want to talk about a couple of things. My understanding is that it took 3 tries and there was phases and 16 talks. What can you break all those numbers down for me?
Oh my gosh. So I wasn't joking when I said, both SAG and AFTRA were founded in the 1930s. And, when you think about it, if I could go back in a time machine, I would talk to the leadership of all of the performers unions and say, oh my gosh, you don't ever want to divide this up in the way where people sort of had a classist system of film actors or TV actors or stage actors. That's just silly. And also all the other people that we represent that aren't actually actors. We represent broadcasters, stunt people, singers, dancers, recording artists, all just as important, even though people often think of us as an actors union. So the various attempts at merger had different names, consolidation and affiliation, merger, all these different things. But in the act attempting to bring the unions together, a lot of times we had to really sit down, and some of it was fear. Some of it was not necessarily looking through how you would really serve the interests of all of the groups within what would be the new SAG-AFTRA. And I think the last time we really got it right, because we really worked very hard, We have broadcasters in our union, and a lot of people think that though that's a very different thing than being an actor. I mean, I think it's the same for equity. People will think a stage manager should be so different. They're not really. We do different kinds of work, but what we really did in the actual merger of SAG and AFTRA was make sure that we really listened to what the interests and concerns are with those various constituent communities and provided structures that protected them, even though they might be broadcasters were a small group in AFTRA and therefore a smaller group in SAG-AFTRA because now the number of actors expanded. But
I'm sorry. Can I cut in here really quick?
Yeah.
All right. Vice President Damon, here's a question I have now that you brought up broadcasters. I remember during this debate, I was a baby. I was a baby at SAG-AFTRA. I remember during this debate, the broadcasters came out and they were essentially like, if this happens, we're already small numbers. We're going to get lost in this huge union. Did that happen?
That did not happen. And that's, I think a lot of broadcasters that were intimately involved in the process, some of whom are still intimately involved in the union today, would say to you, they knew because they were part of building the structure to make sure that that would not be the case. But we did things like built in constitutionally a broadcast steering committee to make sure that they had a permanent voice in the union. I really credit both Ken Howard and Gabrielle Carteris. Gabrielle is our current president, for making sure that broadcasters didn't get lost in the new union. And in fact, I spend a lot of time with our broadcasters. And one of the things, if I were to look at things that I'm proud about merger, because I'm obviously proud of what we've done on a whole bunch of fronts. Mm-hmm. So the ability to make it so that the broadcasters not only understood, because look, words do matter, but your actions matter more. Making sure that broadcasters had a real home. This is their home every bit as much as it's home for actors or singers or dancers or recording artists or stunt people or people that do background work. You have to be, a family is a family, right? And you have to make a place. And broadcasters both made that for themselves, but I have been so proud of the way that the actors and the broadcasters and all the other groups have worked together. We've actually strengthened all of us by working together. We're doing more broadcaster organizing, and our broadcast department and our key broadcast board members and otherwise would tell you we're doing more broadcaster organizing than was ever possible. We are organizing in public radio like crazy, and I think that's a great example. We have all these councils of people from different broadcast stations. If you think about these things in the right way, you can actually find a way, rather than diminish a voice, you can elevate that voice. And I think that's what the merger of SAG-AFTRA did for all the groups.
All right, I'm going to actually give our tech, I'm going to give you permission to scroll any comments you see. For example, I know Nancy Daly is just praising Rebecca right now. Nancy, how are you? I love Nancy. But anyone, as they come through, feel free to give it. You bring up a really good point, because I think about the influencer agreement. And I remember when I had first moved to LA, one of the big things was like, commercials are being lost. This is happening. I saw that announcement of the influencer agreement, and all I could think is, they did it. They did it. They figured out how to get back in the game with commercials. And I just think that was incredible leadership. And that again also speaks to like the smart minds who are leading and things of the like. So I just want to salute you all for that.
Yeah, well, that's members and staff working together. We have a really great team in our commercial strategy group, and they just do amazing stuff. But it was also our member leaders of our commercial performers committee. At SAG-AFTRA, we really take the various groups of people who do different work very seriously. And to me, if you are not organized, you're either organizing more as a union or you're shrinking as a union. You got to pick, right? It's just the way the world works, right? And so to be able to organize more work for our members and to also plant the flag where we need to plant the flag, that's a really good example. I look at, just recently we did a micro budget agreement because look, we have so many of our young members, our content creators. Our Next Gen Performers Committee, who is amazing. It's these folks from 18 to 35 that are super-ish because, we're actors and performers. We don't all say our age, but they are so engaged in making sure that we are thinking about what the world looks like in terms of making sure that that space is their space and they have an opportunity to work there. So when you think about that piece of the puzzle, we did the micro budget, which could help them to be the content creators that they are. And so, that's a SAG-AFTRA philosophy. Our executive director, David White, who I know you've had on the show before.
Never heard of him. No,
yeah, I'm going to tell him you said that. Okay? I'm going to text him right now. He has this phrase, and it's really a SAG-AFTRA motto. We want to try to be easy to work with and hard to fight. And I believe it's a good way to go.
Easy to work with and hard to fight. I can't think of a better way to describe what we're going to be talking about today. Rebecca, thank you. You said you wanted to stick around. You're down to stick around for real?
I'll stick around in the green room and listen to you today. It's been
all right.
fun talking to you.
Thanks. Hang on backstage. Thank you, Rebecca. The next person I would like to bring out is the president of the Black Theater Caucus, who was also at the town hall today, Troy D. Wallace. Can I get Troy's card? I think we're doing cards now, right? So this is Troy D. Wallace, Black Theater Caucus co-founder and president, Western Michigan University, BFA in musical theater performance, pizza. He loves pizza. All right, notable credits. We got him at George Murchison in A Raisin in the Sun, Sunny and In the Heights, and upcoming. Oh, upcoming. Put him on screen. You're booking? You're booking?
Yes. So one thing I did forget to put in the bio that I sent, my bad. My recent credit before the pandemic was actually Fish in the Royale at Theater Squared. But no, I was fortunate to book 2 TV shows in the midst of all of this.
Wait, why are you fading in and out? Also, yeah, why are you fading in and out? Where are you? Are you around people? Oh, it's the headset. Okay, cool. I just wanted to double check, make sure I wasn't doing something wrong. Now, the Black Theater Caucus gave a list of demands heading into the town hall. Do you believe that those demands and expectations were met today?
Yes and no.
Tell me more.
I personally felt that our stage managers were left out of the conversation. First of all, the name Actors Equity Association is one, as we see in the comments here, is excluding the contributions of our stage managers, which make up a sizable portion of our membership. That needs to be addressed formally, and I, speaking on behalf of the caucus, am in support of a name change that is more inclusive and acknowledges their contributions to our craft. In addition to that, we didn't get to venture into virtual contract conversation during that town hall. We heard that it's going to take a long time for Broadway and off-Broadway to come back, which we all already knew. But what about the work that is already being produced, that can be produced and follow all of the COVID safety guidelines that were very eloquently presented for us during this town hall? I personally, on a personal note, am in favor of those protocols. I think that it's very important to get a vaccination. I got my first shot this morning. So please, all of you listening, if you haven't been vaccinated, go get vaccinated so that we can return to work. But until we all reach that stage of full vaccination or near to it, we need to be proactively looking into virtual theater options.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Is there anything else moving forward that you're like, besides stage managers who were left out, is there anything else you're going, oh, better yet, do you think that these town halls should be continued?
Of course. As to hold them to be accountable, or to make them more accountable, there we go. As they asked and said during that town hall, begins with communication, and communication both ways. Even if it means these town halls are restructured so there's less of a presentation and more of a back and forth.
Troy, what I will give you is that you, before every meeting, you start with land acknowledgements. Now, that was missed during this town hall. However, reading the comments, engaging, listening, they started recouping and people started acknowledging the land that they were standing on. Do you believe that AEA did a good job of engaging with the comment section, having Ife moderate, and essentially cover themselves on the go as the thing progressed.
Well, yeah, that's what they always do.
Tell me more.
I mean, if we've learned one thing over the course of this pandemic is that the union that I am a part of is a reactionary union. I have yet to see actions that are proactive. Yes, accountability is so necessary, and it's very difficult. It's something that I wrestle with daily with regards to making sure that I'm serving the members of the Black Caucus. But yes, I think first and foremost, Ife Butler did a fantastic job moderating that. She handled it with such grace and class, and got answers to questions we've been asking for a while that have not been answered. And she did so in a way that that is part of my spirit, and I'm assuming others as well. But also didn't necessarily burn them at the stake.
I love it. I always heard if you want something done right, put it on the back of a Black woman. Do with that what you will. Thank you, Troy D. Wallace, president of Black Theater Caucus. Congrats on your shot, and I'm loving the background. Troy D. Wallace really likes to hike. Have a good one. So, a couple shows ago, we had Tim Hughes, who wrote a letter. I would like to give him credit for starting everything that's happening right now. So, without any further ado, the man of the hour, the week, we have Tim Hughes. Let's break him down for a second really quick. I just wanted to make sure your reaction was there as I read this. Letter to AEA leadership, petition author, NYU's Tisch School of the Arts BFA, Instagram model, shirtless, underwear, like for like. So just in case you haven't gone to his Instagram, that's probably the bigger story. Notable credits: Worker, Hadestown, of course, Pabby, oh my goodness, that's right, Frozen, where the infamous flag grab took place. The Strongman in 20th Century Fox, The Greatest Showman, and Bloodbound, and Full Frontal with Samantha B. Here he is, Tim.
How dare you? Likes for likes, it's not true.
All right, without further ado, how did you receive this town hall?
Okay, this was frustrating for me. This was really frustrating. I think it was on many levels. Like we have discussed, there was a letter that I had written that garnered the support of thousands of members, asking very specific questions, and actually was the prompt for creating this town hall, or as they like to frame it, AE leadership likes to reschedule this town hall. And instead of really addressing specifically what was written about in the letter, it turned into kind of a free for all of all concerns and anything that wanted to be contributed and added. And it was probably very informative for people who have not been engaged in membership this past year, to try to catch them up using the same talking points that they have been relying on for a majority of this year. But for anybody who has been engaged and having those conversations and making those connections and hearing the specific stories of what's actually going down, what's happening, we get a very different side of the story. And as a result of the structure that they chose to conduct this town hall in the way that they did, we didn't get a real sense of those real stories. And that's very, very frustrating. And we didn't get enough specifics. Part of why people are frustrated is because they don't feel heard in a conversation. You know, when we ask for communication, we're not asking, I think it feels like equity leadership is saying, oh, great, we will send out more emails and we will deliver and send out more information from what that's going through the filter of our leadership. And they're refusing to acknowledge that communication can also mean, and needs to mean, in our circumstances, an exchange. It has to be an exchange of information. It has to be a two-way street. And that's really still not happening. I mean, the one time that I was allowed to ask a question at this town hall, which is incredibly frustrating to begin with, because to ask all members to just condense all of their concerns and feelings into one question in a town hall, I mean, that's just impossible. But I needed to know more specifics than what Andrea Hoshin was giving me, and I was immediately muted. I asked the question, and then I could not engage in a conversation whatsoever.
Wait. Breaking news. So what you're saying is, as soon as you asked the question, you were immediately silent, so you could not react? Is that what you're saying?
When I went to react and ask for more specifics, like who else was on the safety team, and there was a lot of throwing all accountability on producers and artistic directors who were proposing productions. All of the responsibility was put on them, and Andrea kept talking about like the pinch. Well, the pinch also is that equity staff is understaffed. We don't have enough people. We don't have enough people to be doing the amount of work that we need to be doing. There's a poor communication coming from equity staff. And as soon as I tried to interject, I was not being heard at all. And then I had to go directly to the chat, and I was like, I'm seeking, can I be unmuted? I'm seeking more information on this topic. And it was never granted.
Wait, producers, is it possible? I know that Janelle was asking questions during the thing. Can someone send Janelle the link to this show just so we can get another person to speak on that? Because I remember Janelle asked a question. Thank you. All right, I'm sorry, Tim. You broke news.
No, and I think Ife attempted to do. She did a wonderful job, and I think early on she attempted to re-engage with the questioner and say things like, "Did you get that? Is that enough?" But that, I think, only happened one or two times in my experience, and you could tell on my screen if the name went away from the top of the screen. That means they were back to being muted and not part of the conversation.
Oh wow!
So I definitely had additional thoughts because. When I was asking about the specific system in place for producers and theaters to be approved, she kind of, Andrea she 100% laid all of the responsibility and any theater that hasn't been approved at the feet of those producers and those theaters, without taking any kind of accountability, which I think is a recurring theme. And everyone's like, accountability is hard to take. Yeah, but you know what? We are post a year into a pandemic. It's probably the easiest time to take some accountability because people are going to be understanding. The fact that even after a year of this, we are in understanding that things did not work out. There is still not even an attempt to take any accountability. It's the most frustrating thing I've ever experienced.
Oh my God, I'm sorry. I'm still taking in what you said of you being silenced. I didn't know that happened. I'm genuinely whoa, that's offensive. However, you brought up Kate Schindel, and I want to be the first to say, Tim, you got a second shot because today we have, bring her out, President Kate. Oh, just joking. It was a joke. So with that being said, Kate took accountability. She literally said, communication, everything that's going on, I apologize. Do you think it was genuine, or do you think it was to shut up the comment section?
Okay. I think that is just dipping a toe into the pool of accountability. I think in order to take real accountability, there actually has to be some action in place. It can't just be words. And until there is something in place where people can actually be heard, I would like to see this newsletter, this weekly newsletter, be organized by members. Let members be having conversation with elected leaders so that there's an understanding and an idea of what other fellow members need to hear. It is pretty clear that they didn't know what membership had been thinking this past year, because there's no real way to communicate. And if she wanted to say, I'm sorry, and attempt to take some accountability, I would expect a more accountable leader to say, I'm sorry, this is what we're doing in order to ensure that that doesn't happen again. And as of right now, there is still nothing in place. That newsletter is meaningless to me. We don't know who is writing this newsletter. We don't know who is going to be deciding what topics there are. We still don't know, and I haven't heard any members being asked to be a part of creating this newsletter. That seems like an easy fix. Like, if we're trying to, that's what I'm talking about, communication being a two-way street. Then let's get some members involved in the conversation.
Awesome. Tim, I actually want to keep you a little bit. Is that okay? I was like making the decision as I was looking at you.
Okay.
Are you booked? Are you booked and busy? I know you're doing the press junket right now. Are you busy?
No, I literally just got off my press junket, so I'll be good.
Hang out backstage, because I actually want to bring in some delegates. Everyone loves The View. Everyone loves The View panel style shows. So in the middle of this one, we are getting live reactions from our governance. So with that being said, please welcome Ryan Morales Green, Sarah Quinn Taylor, Sarah Corey back again, and also coming back, Damian Thompson. So let's start with these reads, though. Hold on. So first we have Ryan Morales Green. He is the Eastern Principal Delegate. He went to Shenandoah Conservatory, BFA in musical theater. He's a nutrition coach. Specialty is hot. Is this who we are? Is this what we're going to be? Notable credits: Nick Hurley in Flashdance, Pharaoh in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, and he was a vocalist at Tokyo Disney. Give me the next one. Let's do the next. Oh, come on with these headshots. AEA Governance, Eastern Chorus Delegate. This is Sarah Quinn Taylor, everyone. University of Oklahoma, BFA in Musical Theater, minor in non-profit organizational studies. Oh, come through. Hashtag Swing Nation, a theater team. Notable credits: understudy Eliza Doolittle and My Fair Lady, and Peggy Sawyer in 42nd Street. Keep it coming. We got Sarah Corey, AEA Governance, Eastern Principal Delegate, also an incredible co-host. I'm going to just be very clear here. I wish you all understood how drunk I was last show. It was a vacation. I had to keep the glasses on, and Sarah Corey carried me as if she was a bodybuilder. Thank you, Sarah Corey. Princeton University. She went to Princeton. English and theater. Vodka soda. I was trying my best not to laugh, because dogs are better than cats. Notable credits: A Letter to Harvey Milk off Broadway, In the Book of Alabama Shakespeare, 1,000 Splendid Sons, and our last person back again, Damian Thompson. Come on with this coat. Come on, Michael Jackson. AEA Governance, Eastern Principal Delegate, University of Evansville, BFA in Acting, University of Delaware, MFA in Classical Theater, recently played Pericles, and he says, I'm not reading the third. I'm not going to do this on this show. You're not going to get me. Notable credits: Fly at Pasadena Playhouse, award-winning, just in case you didn't know. Brother/sister. Oh my God, brother-sister plays. Go, Damien. And Black. We have our panel. And the first thing first, here we go, delegates. Do we approve of the town hall that just took place? This is The View, so you got to go for it.
That's a tough question, isn't it? I'm going to start because it was problematic, but it was a very important first step. And I'm going to go ahead and say that this town hall should have been 6 hours long. I actually didn't have a problem with the intro stuff at the beginning, which basically we needed last April. Like, we needed that conversation last April, but then we needed to have 4 hours. And I'm not kidding when I say 4 hours. That would have even only been the tip of the iceberg. We needed 4 more hours for questions. And exactly as Tim said, conversation, because it was a huge step in the right. No, it was a small step in the right direction. But Kate said that we were going to have another one of these before September. I was like, I'm sorry. That's like a half year away. We need one next week. We need another one next week, especially as things keep changing. So I'll give them, a thumbs up for effort, but we need more of this, and we need more nuance, and we need it fast.
All right. Anyone else? Just go for it. Wait, first off, Damien, how dare you with this lighting? I'm not doing this with you today.
Listen. It's the golden hour, and I always take that hour to myself. I'm giving you a part of that hour, but I'm still looking at the golden hour while I'm talking.
What did you all think of Dr. Michaels, who made an appearance?
Sorry, me.
I thought his 19,000 was appropriate. I thought that's an appropriate payment for the services that were rendered. I was not as impressed with the whole thing, and I think it's old news. Like, I think it's old news that for the first 45 minutes to an hour or something, in this case it was more closer to 45 minutes, that you talk at us and you give us information. We've been stuck inside for a year. You don't think we know what COVID is? You don't think we know how it spread? You don't think we have nothing to do but know how it works? That's all we're doing for a year. And instead of taking the time to actually get to the point of what we need, you're sitting up there like giving us lip service. And it's like, I get it. I get you've been doing something. No one is negating that you haven't been doing something. It's been a year. Everyone has had to be doing something.
Sorry, Damien, but what I found very interesting is that someone straight up asked, they were like, hey, we hear all this lip service. Like, again, you talk about this resolution. You talk about this resolution for Black lives, which is just that, a resolution saying Black Lives Matter. You talk about all these things and these protocols and stuff that was in place, the 4 pillars, but there were no tangible things. And I don't know if that question was really dealt with. So what are some of the tangible things?
No, just every question that was answered in the vaguest way possible. Mm-hmm. Even down to the how much it was the doctor paid. You didn't know how much you knew he got a 50% discount, but you didn't know how much he actually got paid. But then when you read the chat and saw that people weren't accepting the BS anymore, and realized that you had to do something, all of a sudden, miraculously, you could pull up down to the cent how much you spent on it. It lets me know that you knew it, or you had it readily accessible that if you wanted to give it, and we didn't have to force you, like your previous guest said, a reactional union and not a proactional union, you wouldn't have given us the information. And that's the crap that we have to deal with on a daily basis.
It felt like we had a first date conversation. You know what I mean? Like we were on our first date with our executive, we learned all the surfacey stuff, but it's like, we've been in this relationship for a while now. Like, let's actually get to the meat and the bones of what's going on in this relationship. And it just felt like everything stayed like first date surface level.
Sarah Quinn Taylor, I found it very interesting. We were talking about safety and health and things of the like. And guess what got a shout out? Single payer. Do you think more attention should have been given to the actual health idea? Because again, one of the things they said is that they advocated for COBRA subsidies. And I was like, I advocated too, which means I can put that on my resume, because if they can do it, I can do it too. So do you feel that the COBRA subsidies are enough, or should we be going further? Sarah.
I mean, they're absolutely not enough when only 14% of our membership is opting in, and that's 2018 levels. That's before COVID. They're absolutely not enough. But it's so frustrating. I think overall, like, of course, when healthcare got brought up, we had people immediately in the chat like, well, that's not actually actors equity. That's equity. These like repetitive talking points and the talking at us. And I think the most frustrating thing overall, and it was actually a question was asked, like, okay, but what do we do? What are action steps? Because you have an entire union membership that's been more or less sitting around for a year. And like Sarah said, we should have had what we just had as soon as the shutdown happened. Right? Like, okay, this, and the thing that's frustrating, I don't know if any of y'all went to the vaccine Facebook Live thing yesterday with the doctors that like Kate moderated. But again, like with that, and then with Dr. Michaels, it's so frustrating. And even with Andrea like laughing about the trombones thing, and just like the tone of it is like, it's so what we're asking is that we know that our industry is so specific and so different. We're asking for the specific things about our industry. Like Damien said, like we can go to the CDC website. We can read the protocols. Like what are you doing about our industry? We know that it's different. We know that it's a challenge. And it just feels like the people that we're being presented with are not keyed into our industry, really. I don't know.
Sorry, I was going to support you, Sarah, in the fact that we were being compared to a basketball team and a football team. I was like, are you insane? Like you're not going to compare us to SAG-AFTRA that's been doing their junk. Like I've worked a SAG contract. It ran perfectly. Like other industries that are closer to us that's actually doing something and making something happen, but you're talking about a basketball team. Of course we don't have enough money. Like we're not traveling the country from place to place. We're going to most times small neighborhoods, small towns. The majority of the jobs are not in these like, you know, places where we're like going from town to town or something, or like city to city. It's like, so why are you comparing us to a basketball team or a football team? It's insane. It's insane. But you want us to go and work these everyday jobs where we encounter different people on a daily basis, rather than take a slighter chance working on a show where I know that I can trust Sarah, Corey, and Ryan, right? Because I see them on a daily basis and we have a shared interest, right?
I think the thing I took away from it that I've always, like, I take away from every meeting, whether it's a meeting that I have to have with a single counselor or, you know, someone that's like, hey, let's figure this out. And I've said this from the beginning, is you have an industry and a union of members with the most creative, detail-oriented, like we literally have a union full of stage managers. Like if anyone should be able to figure this out, it's this union and its membership. And it just seems like there's no creativity, there's no addressing of the gray area. Like one thing I'm still trying to figure out is we have protocols for, you know, our like super long protocols, no one's vaccinated. And now we have protocols for fully vaccinated. Okay, is anything being done to address the, you know, we've already brought up children or people that couldn't get the vaccine. They were admitting today that, yes, we know people won't be able to get the vaccine. Okay, well, where's the middle ground? Are we talking about a herd immunity within a cat? Like, just all these specifics, and it's so hard to get answers, direct answers.
Well, let's speak about that, because
reminded of that. It's like the bureaucracy is so slow.
I'm happy you brought that up, Sarah,
because
something as delegates that all of you hear a lot is, ooh, can't speak on that fiduciary responsibility. And we saw it today with President Schindel when she said, ooh, conversation's getting a little tough. I can't really speak on that. We're keeping things quiet. We're doing great work in the shadows. Ryan Morales Green, what are your thoughts? As someone who's, again, all of us know each other because Ryan Morales Green organized this. Sarah Corey pointed that out in the last show. As someone who's been working so hard to connect people, get everything together, essentially being our stage manager and our producer and our leader and the host and all this, how do you feel with even all that work, you're being cut off and left out of information that you feel you should probably know?
Well, I can give a really specific example from the town hall. So I'm also a member of the EPA committee. Myself, Katrina Michaels, Buzz Roddy, Troy, who's on the show earlier, worked on trying to get us more live virtual auditions because they let us know in the EPA committee how current concessions are working for auditions. And so we put together a whole motion to bring to the committee. We brought it to the committee, and several counselors in the committee actually said, hey, this is in the works. We're not going to tell you guys anything about what it's in the works. It needs to be dealt with in other rooms. So we shouldn't be talking about this here in this committee right now. And they even said we really shouldn't be trying to get live virtual auditions happening anyway, because producers are going to ask for that and they're going to want that. But then yet today, that topic gets brought up and Kate is standing there saying, oh yeah, and we're working on getting more live virtual auditions. And it's like, this was a conversation in the EPA committee back in February. And then that conversation got silenced with the excuse that we can't actually give you all the information so you can even make a decision about this. So you should make a decision about it And just the way that was handled is like a drop in the bucket of how much we've experienced. And like, we're supposed to be making all of this policy for the convention, and we're trying to have these conversations, and we're not actually being given information, or we're getting gaslit, or we're getting talked down to a lot. And so it's been really frustrating, I think, for all of us to be able to feel like we actually come forward and make a decision. And even when we do that, we have someone telling us why it's bad or wrong, but they won't tell us why. They won't tell us why. And sometimes it feels like manipulation more than anything.
All right, Damien.
The statement that I have to support that is you're only as strong as the most uneducated member.
Yeah.
I forgot the exact one. That the Kate Schindler. She said that. And for me, I was like, oh, wow, okay. I will use that. Every single time you ask me why I do that. Every single time deny members from hearing what's taking place. Go
Sarah.
No, exactly, because it's this self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because the second that a member speaks up, whether it be an email or a Facebook group or whatever it is, and then, someone's like, join a committee, we are the union, but we don't feel like we are the union when things like today take place, because then we're not being heard, we're not, we're there, you're saying get involved, let us hear you, but then when we do, we're being told, oh, well, don't ask about that, we can't tell you about this, we can't, and just like Tim said with the newsletter, it's like, how can members help? How can we,
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Sarah, Corey, go.
I want to add just one thing, which is like sort of related to the thing that really rubbed me the wrong way today. And there was one thing that really rubbed me the wrong way today, was that every single contract that didn't happen was laid off on producer ineptitude or producer error or producer refusal to collaborate and cooperate. And I know
or producers refusal to have a magical money bin that they can continue digging down.
Right, exactly. I mean, we have to be realistic. The only time that Kate sort of acknowledged that there is like a financial recession in the country because we've been closed for a year was when she was talking about possible potential salary concessions, right? But we all know that like the money is not infinite, and it in fact has been, the supply has been stopped all year. So the two things that I really would have liked to have heard something talked about today are staff. Equity staff must be at 100% or more capacity. So we did get a number about working Jews this year. They made $365,000, I think, which I'm sure is just a drop in the bucket, but it's not nothing, right? So, and we all know, even though she took a pay cut, we do know that Mary McCall makes significantly more than most of the staff members just staying in the office.
How much is the pay cut?
I wish I knew. I heard something like 30%, but I don't know. I don't know.
And that's the thing.
We need to know.
That's educating your.
We absolutely need to know. But we need full staff back, and we need the union to stop vilifying producers. I just have one thing I want to say, which was that in a conversation recently, when they were asked specifically, actually a couple of conversations, why special appearance and guest artist contracts are not being allowed right now, the sort of general answer was given because producers could pull out. Right? We could go through all of this work with safety plans for one contract, and then producers could pull out. Like who is going to pull out of that to me was such a lazy and vilifying answer, right? Producers could pull out, and those contracts are just as valuable to members as any other contract for work weeks, for finance. We got to pay that rent. And that was just, to me, I'm still flabbergasted by that.
And in theory, those contracts would be the most straightforward ones to approve.
Exactly.
I'm gonna throw in an assignment. So we're going from view format to problem solving format. Can I get Janelle? Janelle spoke today, and she asked a very important question. Janelle, unmute. Whoa! She is ready. She is ready.
I hate you. I hate you.
I I wasn't expecting the background. Come over here and fix my background.
I got self-tapes to be doing. This is what? This is a money maker right here. This blue right here is a money maker.
Okay.
Janelle, speaking of money, you asked the question, where are our dues going? And what I just found out from
our dues going.
That's the game, girl. Yes.
I didn't expect it. I didn't see it coming. I was completely floored. But then Tim totally blew my mind with something really quick. Tim said that he was immediately cut off after he asked. And what I found weird about your question is that you didn't follow up. In personality alone, I was like, oh no, she's not letting them answer the way they just answered. What happened?
They muted me.
Wow.
No, sorry. Let me correct that. They didn't mute me. They took me off. And I didn't even hear the answer because it said bloop, and all of a sudden my picture was gone, and I thought I had hit my own button. So I was like, oh no. And I'm trying to scramble to get back. And I realized, one, that I didn't hear the answer. And two, y'all done canceled me.
So it's confirmed. Janelle got first off, they preached about BIPOC representation, and then they muted you and they kicked you off. Meaning
They canceled me. That's what they did. They canceled me.
Janelle, okay,
to be perfectly honest, when I saw someone say, hey, would you like to ask your question live? I thought it was a joke. And I clicked the button, and the next thing I knew, I was kind of in a holding room. I'm like, oh, this is happening. And so I was like, okay, all right, get your well-spoken self on. Like, let's do this. And I had almost forgotten my own question. And next thing, bloop, I was gone. And so when Ife said, would you like to pontificate, would you like to respond? I was like, well, yeah, but I was gone.
Wow.
I was gone.
Wow. And
so I don't even know what the answer was, so I can't answer you, Davon. I don't know I still don't know where my dues are going.
Neither do we.
Yeah, the answer wasn't very clear, to be very frank.
Honestly, I don't know why y'all were expecting anything else. This felt like that crappy debate we had, if you can call it that, back in November. And that's what that was. Nobody answers questions. They don't. Nobody wants to talk to us. They just want to do a 45-minute presentation on how to spell COVID. Why? We didn't need that, man. We know what COVID is. We know how not to get it. We know how to spell it. So why was he there? So why did y'all pay him $20,000? Really? I don't care what he got paid. Oh, y'all canceled me too? Okay.
No, we just gave you the whole screen.
I don't care what he got paid. I'm sorry. No, go on. This is y'all's show. Go on. I'm just honestly, I got on the town hall for the comments, and Rick Podell and you and David Lamar, y'all were giving me life. And then I was reading all the kids that were getting upset by all the other, you're being so disrespectful. And I didn't expect anything to get answered. That's the honest to God truth. I'm cynical. I'm skeptical. I'm a woman of a certain age. I don't expect, they're like HR to me. They are never going to answer your question.
I'm going to call it. Everyone. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I have to take this off. So here, Janelle,
can
you
Janelle
are blessing. I'm still trying to recover. Here we go. This is the assignment delegates. Janelle has been dealing with an issue for a very long time in which she would like to have her dues taken care of, because there was a whole program. Remember, there was a program where people were relieving dues. She went through that program, and to this day, she has been overlooked. She has gotten the runaround. Talk about it.
Okay, so quickly, I called to ask about going on suspension. And I text Davon, and Davon said, do not do that. He gave me the email to contact. Now, I waited a couple months. I was a little scared. It was wintertime, whatever. I was eating ice cream. So I decided, let me see about this thing. Then I get a suspension card in the mail. So I called them. Let me go back one step. I called Equity to find out about how to go on suspension. I asked the question. I text Davon. Davon said, don't do it. Email these people. They'll help you out. I said, okay. I called back. I'll just say, I could be exaggerating, but I'll say 15 minutes later. I said, do not put me on suspension because I do not want to pay the $100 fee that you're going to charge me to get back into this union. And they said, okay. Skipping ahead, that was October. Skipping ahead to April, I get a suspension card. So I said, they put me on, they done cancel me again. They put me on suspension because I haven't been paying my dues. So I said, okay, Janelle, you got to figure this out. You got to call these people. I called and she goes, oh, ma'am, no, that's not because you didn't pay your dues. You asked to be on suspension. I said, oh, no, ma'am, no, I didn't ask to be on suspension. I called to get information about suspension. And I told you don't do it because I'm not paying you $100 to get back in your union. So then I started emailing people and it got to, somebody else, they forwarded me this and then they forwarded me. And then finally, someone forwarded me to John Fasulo. I probably shouldn't have said the name, but I said it. I said what I said. And so then there was an email back and forth. And then it was, well, Jeff, we're gonna reverse it. We just need it in writing that you're okay with that. I said, no, I want to speak to somebody. We're going to reverse it. We just want just put it in writing. We got to have everything in writing. No, I want to talk to somebody. I think that happened 3 or 4 times. So finally I was like, so y'all just not going to call me, huh? To his credit, he did call me. He called me unannounced. So I didn't know he was going to call me and I wasn't ready, but I quickly got ready. And all I wanted him to know was that the runaround that I got is not good. And the attitude and the tone I got is not good. I've been in this business over 20 years. I don't even know how long I've been in equity, but I am due a phone call, which he did do. He didn't like it. He still had a little bit of toot about it. But my whole point is, so my spring dues are due. My November dues are due. So I go on suspension. That's another $100. And I said, please let me tell you that anybody going on suspension, I would venture to say they're doing it for financial reasons, which means they don't have $100 to get back into the union plus any dues that they owed. They did it because they probably couldn't pay their dues for the most part. I don't want to generalize. So I said, y'all need to get rid of that $100 reinstatement fee. What is that? And that's how I know I said, don't do it. And I don't believe that anybody was that quick to click a box or unclick a box or process. They ain't never been quick about processing anything else. So how are you so quick to process my suspension that I didn't ask for? And then all of a sudden I get a card and so I said I was going to be brief. I'm sorry I was long-winded. It has been taken care of. They did reverse it, but it wasn't without a struggle. So no, I'm not wearing the equity pin. And no, I'm not going to be a deputy anymore.
It's a money-making industry. The fact that when you are not able to pay your dues, back in the day, you would get it's $1 after a month or something, right? Something. All of a sudden, it switched to I don't know if it's days or weeks or something where the numbers add up where my $80 thing, which I just, I had just forgotten, right? I thought I had it on auto. I look and it's $100 and something and it's only been a month or two. And I'm like, they're changing it on a level where it's you're actually paying for these late days. But I actually can't afford it. Not me. I'm just saying if someone can't actually afford it, so you think they're late because they're just sitting on it, just watching, because they don't want to pay it. So now you're going to add that much more onto what they have to pay. This is a stage actors union and not Broadway, not stage managers, because when we do when we give a general idea of what we make as actors, the union publish that thing oh my God, equity actors are making this on average. That is inflated to another level because that is Broadway people, which is a very small minimum, and stage managers and assistant stage managers that get paid above actors, which they should, because they're putting in, that's a whole other thing that they're doing them. But when you put all that together and average it and say actors are making this, come on, man. Like, who are you gaslighting?
Yeah.
All right, we've officially, sorry to cut this down. Delegates right here. Are you open to helping Janelle?
No, I'm gonna pay it. I refuse to let some other member pay my dues. I'm going to pay it, just not right now.
No. I mean communication-wise. I mean dealing with this and making sure that you don't get a runaround or anything else. You all cool with following up?
He said he took care of it.
I gotta say, absolutely, of course, but this is one more reason why we need full staff back. And look, even when full staff is at capacity, they're still like notoriously bad for not being easy to work with, right? Because they're notoriously bad with communication. But right now, another friend of mine just told me, a producer friend of mine just told me that they emailed for 3 months trying to get approval for video footage, extant video footage to be used so that they could pay an equity actor. And they never heard back. Like, how easy is that to approve? That is literally a button. You say, yes, absolutely. You may do that. Here is the paperwork. And then they never heard back. And now those kind of stories, again, another reason why Andrea talking about the pinch points and talking about how it was the producers who were changing everything. And the average 5 days was the fastest. They said 25 days was the average. They never told us the longest. Did you notice that?
Yes.
Those are not the numbers that I am hearing. We are hearing about just terrible response time or impossibility reaching the office in so many different areas. Janelle's story, just one of many horrifying stories. We need more people in those offices, and we need people who can answer the phones. And if it can't be the staff, then yes, allow equity members to volunteer their time for communication and or creative collaboration, creative problem solving, because what else are we doing? Our contracts aren't being approved. And if we're doing self-tapes, it's for SAG after work, right? It's not for equity work.
And my SAG dues have not lapsed. I have paid them SAG dues. You hear me? Mm-hmm. You know why? Because I do a lot of voiceover. Mm-hmm. And I want to keep it. I'm not happy with SAG either. Let's just say that. But I have paid it. So, I don't need any help. As a matter of fact, I want to be a help to somebody else who really, really needs it. And I let them know. I let him know. I also think it's a little bit, I didn't use the word despicable, but in other words, it's really wrong for equity not to be helping the members, for members to take it out of the kindness of their heart and their pocket to help other members. Isn't that what y'all supposed to be doing?
In a time when no one is making money, you aren't giving any jobs, you're not approving any jobs. When you asked that question, where our money went, I was like, you want to know?
She might as well said it's going to the new paint job. She might as well say that.
No, it's going to, listen, I don't even want, listen, $410,000 is not a small change.
So with that being said, I want to thank you all. We are going to keep it moving. This has been great. Janelle, you have shocked, surprised, and really lit a fire for this last little bit. We're going to keep it moving. Thank you all. Have a good one. Do we have Hannah and Kim? Oh, we got to kick some people out. We got to do some transitioning. That's what's happening. So while that happens, can we bring back Tim Hughes?
I'm ready. I'm here.
You're like, I'm warmed up. I'm ready. So after everything you just heard, this town hall has taken place. We now understand the power and influence you have. Tim, what's next?
I'm not sure yet. It felt very, very frustrating. I think that the time for politeness and niceties has to be over, because the only way that we will make any changes is if AEA leadership admits to being on the wrong path or starts taking some accountability. And it sounds like the next strategy has to be a little bit more demanding. And I think something like this show with showing the receipts has to be what everybody starts doing, because I don't think under the guise of a conversation like town hall is going to get us anywhere. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that looks like yet. I think that in watching the delegates conversation, one of the things that came up for me was like as a glaring flaw for where we currently are at is that we spent how many minutes talking about feces, actual studying of feces. Like how many other industries are talking about feces in a toilet? I mean, honestly,
I'm not doing this with you.
like, how many? And we try to bring up the conversation about like HVACs at home, and Dr. Michaels was like, well, because in apartment buildings they filter their own air. I was like, what are you talking about? We live in apartment buildings in New York when we're living at home and working. What you're talking about for HVAC systems in employer housing are regional theaters. These are like houses and little apartments. You're not talking about a huge high-rise building for the most part. And you have to accommodate all of these, but you just don't even know what you're talking about when you're talking. Dr. Michaels has no real specific idea of what he's even referring to when it comes to housing for these regional theaters.
All right, so Tim, thank you for saying everything that you just said. Again, I'm just happy you stuck around. This is amazing. I actually wanted to surprise you.
Oh gosh.
You started what you did. I've been able to see this whole thing progress. And today, I broke the news a little bit earlier. The Barter Theater got approved. So can we bring out Hannah and Kim? And can I get a beer? Can I get a beer from the refrigerator? That's what I'm asking. Because congratulations! I need a beer. Thank you.
Congratulations. You guys have been through so much. And I'm so excited that this is just like the news that you deserved months ago. And it's finally coming your way. A year ago, I know. And even this, like, it should be a full production at this point. You guys are fully vaccinated.
Right, I know.
So my big question, sorry to cut you off, Hannah, is how do you think you were, oh my God, thank you so much. Woo! All right. How do you think this happened? Why do you think it got approved today? What did you do that got this thing moving, got this ball rolling?
Isn't that the $1 million question, right? I mean, we yelled really loud, and Kim has been sending it, to be fair to anyone who's paying attention here, Kim is actually on the contract that got approved. I'm not. Ooh. So at some point, like, I was just like supporting because it affects us all. So, but Kim being able to be like, hey, this is a contract that I am up for. Like, what are you doing for it? She's been writing every day, basically. And like calling and
I watched the light leave Andrea's eyes when my name was called for a question, is how sick she is of my name. I'm sure. I'm sure of it.
Kim, okay, so something very interesting happened. I was like, I want to ask these ladies about this. Andrea said that if producers just worked with AEA for several weeks, they would have had success. And I instantly thought of the Barter. I instantly was like, that's not true.
Tomorrow will be 6 weeks that this plan got submitted, February 26th.
Yeah.
We like the other versions of the plan it's impossible to even keep track of. So those timelines they were listing are just, I'm not saying that anyone is purposely trying to be what's the word I'm looking at? Malicious in lies. But at some point, they're either being malicious or disingenuous, or there's no checks and balances. Like, just because you say something is true doesn't make it true across the board. And that is the thing that I kept thinking. Like, they keep saying all these theaters, and the chat would light up and be like, who? Can we get a list? Who? We've seen it on the forums. And it's like, just because you say it's true doesn't mean that we all go, oh, well, okay, great. They said it's true. It's just, that's the part that's frustrating.
Especially because we keep hearing, as we continue to have more and more of these conversations, we keep hearing that it's actually the staff that keeps moving this goalpost. And like, for her to not even acknowledge, like, she could have been able to frame it and be like, well, yeah, and we continue to do work and at least try to do a positive spin that, like, and these protocols and procedures are changing because the science is changing, and attempt to take a sliver of accountability that there's problems on both ends. But instead, she throws it all onto artistic directors and producers and blames it on the addition of a trombone player. Who's adding a trombone player?
Not Barter.
What show's that?
Not us. Yeah.
Hadestown? Where's the regional Hadestown? I want to go see it. I'm desperate.
I think maybe Kim took a picture of her toilet, and that's what got Barter approved.
All right, I want to ask one last question, and it's about something that you said, Hannah. In the meeting, you said the following: are we also keeping track of productions non-AEA approved that went smoothly with no cases resulting? We have to keep track of both sides of the argument. What happened to make you say that, and do you believe that they were being fair?
Well, I think if I remember correctly, and there's no one to check if I'm wrong, really, timeline-wise, but they were talking about the productions that basically we lost because they went ahead and proceeded without equity approval. And my thought was, like, because that kind of is the barter. Like, we didn't fully, like, we were able to use our TYA company instead, but technically we went ahead without equity approval. And I know in our instance, 0 cases. And the thing is, we can't just keep track of the ones that went ahead and did that and then had to close because 17 or whatever members. Like, sure, we can count that because that's valuable information. But if we're being scientific here, we have to get full data. We have to get the full spectrum of data. So also, have you followed up with the ones who you didn't approve, who maybe had a perfectly fine success rate? And so we're weighing, but you can't cherry pick the information if you're being scientific. So that's why I wanted to ask that question.
Again, I just want to celebrate the two of you. I wanted you here, Tim, specifically, just to, like, all of you to bond in this breakthrough moment. There was a win today. There was a win.
In my mind, you guys were approved for, like, your 2-person show of Sideshow, but I hope that's the case. I'll be down there. That's how I imagine it.
Kim and I joined at the hip is everyone's worst nightmare.
We're actually next to each other on 2 different computers. We are physically attached.
Y'all just have a little barrier in between to cancel the sound, everything else. All right. I want to thank you all. I know, again, you all have to do your own press junket. You're busy, so I'm going to let the 2 of you go as well. Tim, stick around.
Oh, okay.
Because we have 2 guests. So the Receipts did a 1.5 episode. That's what we did. And in between season 1, season 2, we had a talk. There was an issue that took place. And we are bringing back Joanna Carpenter. Here she is, author, educator, organizer, based in NYC, 86th barrier, co-founder, special skill, British accent, which she only uses when speaking to... I keep saying I'm not going to read the 3rd one. I'm not going to read it, and I read it. Notable credits: Actors Theater of Louisville, DIMF Festival, South Korea. Come on, international artist this episode. Top jury honor, an upcoming pilot, King's Blade. Oh, how's the alcohol already hitting me? This is a celebration. Here we have Joanna Carpenter. Hey. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot there was a second surprise. Jen Waldman.
You forget her.
Waldman, I just like, I like to dangle a little bit. I like to tease. Founder and executive director, Ithaca College Theater, the long and the short of it, podcast host, other work, blogger, keynote coach, trainer of your many impulses. Word, that's the line. All right, y'all. Here we are. How's everyone doing?
I am not an author. I just want it. Napoleon, we're fighting. I'm an actor, not an author.
Okay, I'll let y'all have that fight. I'm not going to get involved. Jen, I want to start with you because you did something very interesting in organizing a lot of the questions. You created a Google Doc so everyone could get the questions in order and just try to make it seem a little bit more equitable and out in the open, more transparent. Why did you have the impulse to do that?
Well, and thanks for having me on, by the way. I was curious about what other members were actually wanting to know, and I wanted to ensure that there was going to be some transparency around which questions were asked and which questions were actually answered. Over the years, I've emailed Equity about various things, and they don't have any sort of auto reply that lets you know that anything you send is received. So when I registered for the town hall, there was a limit of 125 characters in the question box. So if your question, was more than a couple words, you had to send an email to a specific email address, which I did several times. And there's no auto reply saying your email's been received, your question is being tracked or answered or whatever. So I thought, okay, well, I want to know I want other people to know what I'm asking, and I want to know what other people are asking. So I made the Google form, and then, wow, a lot of people shared their questions. And I was really specific that I didn't want people to share questions that they just had floating around in their minds, but instead questions that were actually submitted either via the Zoom registration form or through that particular email address. And what's amazing is if you look at the spreadsheet, you can see what all of the questions and concerns are. And I was talking to Joanna earlier today. As I was reading it, I was like, I'm learning about things I didn't know that are going on with other members that, just never occurred to me. So I found it to be a kind of educational document.
How many questions are there?
Oh my gosh, there are a lot. There were something like, let me see here. The number of submissions to the form is about 80, but almost every entry has multiple questions attached, and some have as many as 20-something questions attached to a single entry.
I wrote down 342 questions that were submitted in the Q&A from the town hall today. Wow. So 342, and I was estimating maybe 30 were answered, generously estimating. I mean, maybe lower than that, but. Yeah. So there's still 450 to 500 questions that have gone unanswered.
Yes, and to be fair to the union, there's no way for them to answer them all at the town hall. But I think what's really interesting is to look at those questions and then the prepared statements and the prepared videos. Which, in full transparency, I was only there for the latter half of the town hall because I was teaching. So I'm going to watch the recording when it is ultimately posted in the portal. But I'm curious to know which of the questions were answered in the prepared responses, because they
zero.
Those are very intentional, very deliberate.
Joanna, this is why I brought you here.
I wondered.
Number one. You're like, I already did my job.
I told Jen, I was like, I have no idea why I'm here, but whatever Davon says, great. Yes.
Number one, you were there for the town hall, correct?
Yes, I was.
You're
drinking. Okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah. Here we go. I asked you because I kind of predicted something was going to happen, and it did. Number one, Joanna, how do you identify? And do you believe that the issues you would face with your identity, do you believe that they were covered or addressed today?
I identify as a Chinese American actor, +++. And I thought it was really interesting that the initial email announcing that this town hall, and I'm going to use the term town hall loosely because a town hall is usually more of a conversation as opposed to 47 minutes of regurgitating information that we've all fucking known for the last 12 months. And then very canned responses to approximately 98% of the questions that were asked. So town hall loosely. The initial impression that I got from the email from Equity saying we're having this town hall was that it was going to be a wide-reaching conversation about the state of theater, not only logistically in terms of safety, but also culturally, that there would be some acknowledgement of the work that has been done by the Black community, by the work that has been done by so many artists across the country, and also what's happening in the Asian American community, particularly impacting Asian American artists. And I thought, I took extensive notes throughout this call because I'm an asshole. And I was really, really disappointed by the fact that, because receipts, God, I was really disappointed by the fact that when there were several people who asked specifically about workplace safety as it pertained to our culture and to the lack of safety around our humanization as artists of color. We made a statement about Black Lives Matter when it happened. That was basically, and I'm paraphrasing, that was it. And there has been no acknowledgement. Like it felt like it was pulling teeth to get them to acknowledge that Black Lives Matter was happening, that George Floyd was murdered. And there's no attention being paid to the Asian American community at all, who is drastically, like heinously, disgustingly underrepresented in this industry. There's no addressing of that. And, you know, was I disappointed by it? Absolutely. Was I surprised? Absolutely not. Nobody gives a fuck about the Asians. We are taught this over and over and over again. And, you know, I guess it's fine with equity that some of their members might be impacted by the fact that they are literally killing us in the streets. No, please, let's talk about feces. Can we? That sounds like a really good use of time and my dues, because you know what happened last year? I paid my dues early, and I paid the dues of several other members who I do not know, because I believe in keeping us at a level of function, but I'm kind of giving up on it. I'm not going to lie. So that I'm
just going to let that land. I'm just going to let it land.
You know what happens when I come on the show.
I know.
I do remember in one of the conversations where this came up that Mary McCall was like, we need your voices to be at a 10. And, you know, we need you to be contributing your voices at a 10. And I was like, I feel like I'm at a 10 and I'm screaming into a void.
Yes.
And that's the problem. So my question is, when our voices reach a 10, what is in place for you to hear them?
Yes.
You know, because as we continue to get louder, obviously you're not hearing, based on what was presented in those first 45 minutes and based on the lack of specifics that in how you addressed these questions, and your just flat out inability to reach the number of questions that have come up. So when we're at a 10 at membership, what can you put in place in order to actually start hearing us, actually start hearing members? Because I was like, what, do I send like a volume 10 email or like that's never responded to? I don't know what to do.
Here's the thing about that, though, is that in order to invest in actually hearing those whose voices are at a 10, and I'm seeing a lot of comments happening where we're at a 10, we're at an 11. I've been at an 11 for the last decade. And, you know,
I live at an 11. You're
we're
right.
There. We're just there. And we all have been. Here's the thing. It is not difficult. This is not a difficult thing. Like Jen Waldman, founder of the Jen Waldman Studio, it was not difficult to simply go, hey, I see what's happening to the Asian community. Jen Waldman Studio stands with our Asian community. We are here for you. Reach out to me directly if there's anything I can do to support you. She put that effort in because she actually humanizes the people who exist in and around her studio. That is not a difficult thing to do. But the problem that is larger than any town hall, that is larger than any sort of conversation, any sort of Q&A kind of thing, is that people have to choose to humanize you. And therefore, the follow-up to choosing to humanize you is to listen. These people, and I'm sorry to say it, these white people are not choosing to humanize us. Therefore, they don't have to listen, because you know what happens? You know when it becomes easy to kill someone, when it becomes easy to erase their voice and their contributions, is when you are willing to dehumanize them. Refusing to listen is the very first step. So I don't know how to teach these people how to care. I don't know how to teach these people that many of us in the membership have made a lifetime commitment to doing this work, to fighting this fight, not just within the union, but in life, because what's happening in our industry mirrors life. The exploitations and the violence that occur in our industry mirror life. I don't know how to teach Mary McCall how to give a shit. I don't know how to teach Kate Schindel how to give a shit. And at some point, I got to throw in the fucking towel because I don't have the emotional capital to teach people how to care unless they're taking part in this conversation because they're busy murdering people who look like me. I don't have the time for you, Equity. So shout out to everybody trying to do this work in the union. Davon, like your patience and resilience, I can't do it. I am a political organizer and I cannot do what you're doing.
The show hasn't ended yet, and I have to break news one last time.
Let's see if
I'm still calm. That was actually a false alarm, but now that it's been there, I just want to let everybody know that at the end of this show, I do have one last thing I have to share, and it is a lot. If you would like to grab your alcohol now, grab it now. If you would like to get yourself ready, get ready now. I am about to tell you exactly how this show is going to end, and probably I'll never come back ever again, because I think now is a time, just like Joanna said, we don't know what to do with these people. There are so many fires. And sometimes you got to put something on the line. And what I'm going to put on the line next week for our final episode is my own career. I'll tell you more about that after I thank the three of you for coming on. Thank you so much. You don't have to be here for this. Also, can I bring back SAG-AFTRA Executive Vice President before I go into this monologue, Rebecca Damon. All right, you've witnessed the entire show today. We started and this is where we are. Would you even come back? No.
I would come back. I mean, look, I'm here for SAG-AFTRA, but as a member and a leader of a union, the thing that I would basically say is no matter what union you're in, don't give up on your union. I mean, this is such an extraordinarily distressing time, not just in New York, not just in our country, but around the world. And I believe really, really strongly that anytime we can help amplify the voice, amplify the change, and really amplify what it is we want to see, like that's our job. And it's hard to hear all of these things at all points in time. But I think I heard somebody talk about listening, and I was honored to listen to you, Davon, talk about all this today, and we'll be talking some more. But I would just say, no matter what union you're in, and certainly for SAG-AFTRA, keep holding on, because there is going to be another side to this. And this pandemic has, I'm just going to say this. I've lost so many people in my own life in this pandemic that whatever part of us that can strive to cohesiveness, to finding a path and finding a voice together, that is the thing that I would ask everybody to give that best shot, because I think in the end, the arts really do save us. And I really believe that that's true. And I will never lose sight of that. And I hope that everybody listening doesn't lose sight of that either.
Thanks, Rebecca. I cannot wait to talk to you again off the receipts and just like Kiki for a second. But I got to do a little bit of homework and one-on-one with people who are watching right now. So we could take Rebecca off and you can break the final news. Okay, so this is what I want to talk about. We had the town hall. We're talking about opening up theaters. You've heard everyone speak today. And I feel like we have a bigger issue. An issue I would like to read to you. So in October, I was approached by members of the cast of the national tour of Cats. They said, hey, we've been reaching out to AEA. We've tried to talk to Mary McCall. We tried to talk to Kate Shindo. You have this show that's like on the internets and the Facebooks, and it seems like it's getting stuff done. We need your help. And I was like, what's going on? And they go, we think we made our money back. When we did our show, we were on a set agreement, which is a short engagement touring contract. And I went, a short engagement touring contract? You think I don't understand. They're like, no, we think we made the money back and we think it's being hidden from us. And I said, you know who you should go to? The police. Because that seems like something the police should handle. And they said they tried. It's really complicated to explain. Just look at it. They said, look at the situation. So I said, okay, I'll look at it. And when I looked, I said, they're right. They're right. None of this makes sense. This is really odd. Months go by and months go by and months go by, and the information becomes more interesting. I start reaching out. This is the national tour of Cats. the one that just had a revival on Broadway, I start reaching out to Troika. And what shocked me about reaching out to Troika is that I got a response. I got a response from Troika, and the only promise I had to keep was that I would never reveal that we were talking, and never reveal that we were talking, and to make sure that whatever information I want, I have to ask it. It's not going to be freely given. I have to just know what to ask. So I said, okay, I'll play. Why not? We're talking back and forth. I find out that there are 3 huge arguments that have taken place that's fractured the staff of Troika. Well, I assume it was told to me. And then I find early on that Randy Buck would be leaving. Randy Buck was the head of Troika at the time. Randy Buck, who was also connected to the live event scandal, in which members were cheated out of their money. There was a legal issue that took place, and live event ended up going under. The guy who was the head of it, Garth, ended up going to Canada. He cannot come back to America. I have just gotten back from vacation. As in, I'm doing this show. Last week, I was in the Dominican Republic. And before I went to the Dominican Republic, several days before, at my doorstep was a USB. And on that USB were documents from Troika proving that something sketch had taken place. I repeat, on a USB sent to my house were documents with people's name like Angela Rouse, who works for Troika, proving that the numbers aren't right. Now, this cast went passionately to the Actors Equity Association asking them for help. I asked for help. I said, Mary, what's going on? And Mary revealed to me that Actors Equity made a deal on this contract, but they don't have the full financials. So they wouldn't know, based on the numbers that they get and how they do things, if this show would have actually recouped or if there were separate budgets. Which was shocking to me, that we pay dues into this place looking for protection, and in this situation, they cannot protect the cast. I also was given confirmation from the cast that Mary went on to let them know, oh, if this is so big to you, I'm paraphrasing, but I'll let the producers know, which then scared the cast. This cast that was just asking questions. In a meeting with members, staff, and a counselor from the Actors Equity Association, this cast met with them, again, told them there was an issue, and they were gaslit. And then they were told, well, if we could just get the information, we'll take it from here. Taking them up on their offer, I sent that information on that USB to every single counselor and every staffer that met with the cast. To this day, I have heard nothing from my union. The only thing I've heard off the record is that counsel was advised not to speak with me. However, when I first got those documents, because I didn't know what I had, I sent them to other people. I didn't send them, but I let them look at it over like a thing. And I said, well, what exactly do I have? And everyone that knows Actors Equity and how they operate, the first thing they suggested is that there is a fox in the hen house, because there is no way that numbers like this can take place without people knowing about it. Which began to make sense to why there was so much pushback. But what now gets me is, if they don't have this information for Cats, then how many other shows were there? What's going on with this set agreement? And why is it that when people ask for help from their union, they are dismissed, especially when it comes down to our pockets in the middle of a pandemic where people are trying to figure out how they are going to feed themselves? Y'all, the town hall was great, but the reason you're here today is because you need to share this, because we have a bigger issue. We have a way bigger issue, because after I sent that information to Cats, the Cats cast, and Actors Equity Association, only to be met with silence, I get a message from Troika, which says the following. April 6, 2021. Dear Mr. Williams, it has come to our attention that you are planning a meeting with the cast of our national tour of Cats for tomorrow morning. The Cats cast was let go. They are no longer their cast. They no longer own those people because they chose to make the tour non-union. They went non-union. We do not know your relationship to the cast. True, they do not. But it is our understanding that you are not an authorized representative of the Actors Equity Association, which is also true. I'm just a delegate. We also understand that you may be in possession of certain incomplete financial records related to the tour. Any such information you may have was not provided to you by us. You are not authorized to possess this highly confidential business information, and you are certainly not authorized by us to disclose this information further to any other person. Rather, we insist that you return this information to us immediately, delete or destroy any other copies of the information you may have in electronic or other form, and under no circumstances show this information to others or rely upon it any way in your conversations with any other person. While we in no way want to, nor would we stand in the way of you meeting with our cast, or for the cast to meet to discuss any issues they may have regarding their employment with the tour, it would be entirely inappropriate for you to use any confidential financial information you may have in such a meeting. Please, prior to your meeting, confirm your understanding in this regard and that you will comply with our request as set forth above. Thank you. Angela Rouse, Manager, Cats on Tour, LLC. While I was in the Dominican Republic, I had the USB. Now, when I sent all that information out, I sent it out only partial information because I wondered I couldn't be the only one with this information. And it was true. Because shortly before that, I received information from someone else. In the Dominican Republic, lives in Punta Cana, lives a USB in the ocean. Because I decided, because I'm very good at following the directions of people, to destroy the information. However, next week, I will have that guest who also has the information and has not been told to shut up. So next week, we are going to expose a very major issue, and we are going to ask the question. A matter of fact, all of us need to ask the question. And if anyone has ever worked a set agreement, it is very important that you pay attention to this, because every single counselor knows at this point what's going on. So those same counselors who are in these under 40 groups trying to rile you up, trying to convince you, tell them right now, what about cats? Hashtag ask if it was equity. Because if there is a fox in the head who has allowed our... Oh, I thought it was the Nederlanders. Oh, sorry. Thought it was the Nederlanders. I thought they got me. No, but if there is a fox in the hen house at Actors Equity, a pure allegation, not saying it's true. If that's the case, we need to get to the bottom of that quick and figure out how many other shows were there. If you worked a set agreement, I need you to get loud. I need everybody to say something. Fuck this convention. This convention is not important if our system isn't set up to protect its actors. Again, hashtag ask if... No. I need you to correct that. Hashtag ask if it was equity. Because what we need to know is, did equity know that this fuckery was going on? And if they did, heads need to roll. People need to be fired. People need to resign, and not just a vice president. If this is our industry and it is this corrupt, I want nothing to do with it. So yes, starting today, I am putting my own career on the line, because if we have 51,000 members paying into this union, they deserve justice. Ask about the Cats cast. Also, if we're going to really go there, I would like to end with Delegate Maria Cristina Posada Sly, who has given us a story about Scott Rudin. You know, that thing that people are too afraid to talk about with Playbill and Broadway World? Can I get that slide comment?
Hey friends, Maria Cristina here again, and today we're going to talk about an article that was shared yesterday. It's written by Tatiana Siegel and it came out in The Hollywood Reporter. I'm sure a lot of you have already seen it or read it or heard about it. It's about Scott Rudin, who is a producer on Broadway, also for film, TV. His net worth is $250 million. The article, if you haven't read it, it is about how incredibly abusive he is to his assistants, to anyone who works for him. It's really bad. Films that he has produced are No Country for Old Men, Lady Bird, Fences, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, The Social Network, School of Rock, Zoolander, The Truman Show, The First Wives Club, Clueless, The Addams Family, and then for Broadway, Book of Mormon, Hello Dolly, The Humans, A View from the Bridge, Fences, Passion, To Kill a Mockingbird. There's a gajillion more. He's won 17 Tony Awards. I'm just going to share a few things from this article to give examples, again, if you haven't read the article. He smashed an Apple computer monitor on his assistant's hand. The screen shattered, leaving the young man bleeding and in need of immediate medical attention. The wounded assistant headed to the emergency room, and Rudin called his lawyer. He threw a laptop at the window in the conference room and then went into the kitchen, and we could hear him beating on the napkin dispenser. The HR person left in an ambulance due to a panic attack. That was the environment. Shit. Another staffer says Rudin purposefully disrupted people's careers with lies. He became enraged when one of his female underlings left to work at the Weinstein Company. According to multiple sources, Rudin emailed Harvey Weinstein and insisted that she had stolen from him. Rudin also has been known to change credits, both as incentive and punishment. Several sources say that the victim of the computer monitor incident received 3 associate producing credits in addition to a monetary settlement. Others have seen the flip side of Rudin's leverage. When they ultimately quit, which they always do at some point, he vindictively goes on IMDb and takes away any credits they may have amassed while working for him. What's worse about all these things is that this has been known information for decades. Apparently, for 4 decades, Rudin's abusive behavior has been chronicled, even celebrated by the press. In a 2010 profile, this publication dubbed him the most feared man in town and called him dazzlingly charming, one paragraph after describing acts of cruelty and intimidation. Clearly, this has been an issue for a very, very, very long time, and I've been waiting so long for this to come out, and I'm really glad it did. But, I mean, it's an issue because he clearly has a monopoly on our industry. He's a bully. But people don't want to speak out because he has all of the power and they don't want to be blacklisted. He also clearly doesn't give a shit about the safety of his actors, or anyone for that matter. Last episode, we talked about Amar Ramasar, who plays Bernardo in West Side Story. If you don't know who Amar Ramasar is, he was a principal dancer at the New York City Ballet, also was a role in Carousel on Broadway, also Scott Rudin. During that time, he was exchanging nude photos and videos of other company members of the New York City Ballet with other men in the company without the female's consent. He was fired from New York City Ballet, however, stayed working in Carousel on Broadway, eventually got reinstated to the New York City Ballet and was a principal dancer there. He then books a principal role on Broadway again in West Side Story. Obviously, there were a lot of people that were upset about this, myself very much so included. It is the producer's job to keep the actors safe from sexual harassment, from bullying, anything whatsoever. It is legally their job to keep us safe. He hired a predator. When our community was angry about it, on an interview with CBS, he stuck up for Ramasar. He said, "I don't excuse it. I think what he did was really stupid. I mean, am I supposed to replace him in the show? I'm not going to do that." He had this reputation for decades, and he still has all of the power on Broadway. A lot of it in TV and film. I'm so glad we're finally talking about this. What are we going to do about it? And I don't have those answers. But I do have questions to leave you with. This man is clearly in a position of power, cultural, economic, and social power. And we can say that we want a kinder version of that power, but ultimately, why should one man have all of this power? Why do any of the producers have this power? And how can we have an alternate system where no individual accumulates that much power and influence over an entire community of artists and arts workers? One that doesn't leave our community in proximity to violence and abuse. Again, I do not have the answers to this, and I don't even know what that system would look like. But just a few questions, something to think about. I look forward to him no longer being in power. Thank you.